Friends, I don't know about you, but I desperately miss that 911 Turbo S. But Hurley was kind enough to send us this. And basically what this is a more powerful Turbo S, if you could believe it. The previous Turbo S was 550 horsepower. This one is 570. But you know me, I love torque. This one, it's like laughable to say, but 590 pound-feet of torque. Let that roll around in your brain a little bit. But wait, there's more. The 590 comes in at 2,500 RPM. People, we're in Sweden, and that's the foot completely to the floor with 570 horsepower, and it just, well, that's with the stability stuff on, it just doesn't do anything. Now, watch this. If you stop, and let's turn the stability system off, now you're gonna see some serious shit. Yeah. Oh. I don't even know if I want to do this. Something tells me I'm going to hit the snow so hard that I'm going to die. But you know what? There are worse ways to go than dying in a Porsche in Sweden. So now we're in second gear. And we're going to modulate a little bit with... This is harder to do in this than the GTS. There's no doubt about it. More wheel slip because you're putting so much more power to the back wheels. I'd also like to point out that it's not only cool to be drifting this thing around an ice circle, but listen to how it sounds. Listen to how it sounds. We're not proving anything about this vehicle right now. We're not, well, actually, we are proving one thing. We're proving the fact that more power actually makes things significantly more difficult when you want to drift on an ice circle in Sweden. Well, actually, for that matter, you want to drift in an ice circle anywhere. So you guys remember when we talked about the Lamborghini Huracan and how it was really the first, I guess if there's such a thing, an entry-level supercar where carbon ceramic brakes are fitted as standard. Well, that trend seems to be spreading, and take a wild guess what's fitted as standard here. But it's not just that this one comes with carbon ceramic brakes. What's interesting here is the calipers. Yeah, the calipers. So when we talk about brakes in other films, we talk about Brembo brakes, or what's the diameter of the rotors, or how many pistons or pots does the caliper have. So in the back here, we've got 4, and in the front, I guess the good thing to have nowadays is 6. Well, this is not 6. Maybe 8. Would that be good? Well, that certainly wasn't enough for the engineers in Zuffenhausen. Instead, they went with 10 piston calipers in the front. 10. So yeah, there's a big debate of GTS versus turbo, and it's really all, well, look at that. Did you guys see that? We was trying to aim for that cone and the wind blew the cone across the runway. Anyway, so I was saying, power is the big difference in the GTS and the turbo, and price. But the reality is, power also helps you modulate. So, like, notice we just steered in the turn there and we avoided that cone. And really, it's a little easier in situations like this with the turbo than it is with the GTS because you have more power. Now, granted, can you get yourself in more trouble? Absolutely. But the reality is, it's kind of like Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. So why don't we exercise no responsibility? This is 570 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, on ice, flat out, 70 miles. Jesus Christ, the thing just takes off. Now, check this out. This is the 10-pot brakes. Not the shortest distance, because we have low traction, but notice, no hands, and the vehicle comes to a very controlled stop. Granted, the hazards go on. Did this in the GTS as well? I don't know why it does the hazards. Maybe it's telling me that really it's not the best decision to pull stunts like that. But It was fun. So we're not exactly driving a Swedish car, now are we? So I figured, when in Rome, do as the Romans, enter Swedish meatballs. But then it dawned on me, what exactly is the origin of Swedish meatballs? I asked around and no one could give me a clear answer. So I asked the internet, and the internet told me a very interesting folklore. There was King Charles XI in the early 18th century. He was in exile living in Istanbul, and he had a favorite dish. It was called kefte, or kefteris in Greek. And basically they are small meatballs made out of beef, pork, veal, sometimes using breadcrumbs, spices, that kind of stuff. Anyway, he loved the dish so much that when he was restored to power, he brought back the recipe. Hence, the rest is history. Now, instead of Istanbul meatballs, or kefte, they are now Swedish meatballs. Now, where exactly are we having these meatballs? We're having them at a restaurant called Pelican, spelled with a K. And this goes back almost as far as old King Charles XI, in that this restaurant, the very building I'm sitting in, where I'm sitting my butt, has been here since 1733, serving Swedish meatballs. I don't think I have the heart to tell the waitress that they're serving Turkish food. Although, this could be wrong because it came from the internet. If you guys actually know the real story here, let us know in the comments below. Think of it as a bonus question. So we're not going to play our customary options game on this Porsche because of two reasons. Number one, there are no prices on the option list, at least yet. And number two, it's a Turbo S, so it kind of comes with a lot of stuff fitted as standard. Cool stuff like a suede headliner. There's generally more leather on the interior, like a lot of leather. And then the carbon fiber inserts on the doors, although you know me, I like wood. But there are a couple of options we do need to point out. Number one, it's got the RS wheels. I personally would prefer the turbo wheels. The roof rails painted to match the body color, very cool. And then the Burmeister stereo. How can you have a Porsche, at least a Cayenne or a Panamera, without the Burmeister stereo? And then my favorite option is probably one of the most simple. Your seat belts that are finished in red. Even out here in the middle of the North Pole of Sweden, this is a wonderful place to be. As a matter of fact, it's even better out here because the heated seat combined with like the warmth of the suede headliner with this cool two-tone interior, absolutely fantastic. So let's head off the beaten path here to some backcountry roads, and this is where it kind of all comes together. Well, let's bring the inside and the outside together. Two things really jump out at me here. So number one, look at this. We have all the computers on, and it still allowed me to drift there a little bit. So you can still have some fun, and it's really a testament to the engineers of this vehicle. Because think about what Hurley shared with us at Inside the MotoMan studio. He said, you need to learn how to drive a bad car fast, and this is obviously not a bad car, but what he meant was you need to learn how to be optimal in bad situations. So here's a situation where we're on very low traction, obviously cold weather, and we're adding a significant amount of power, and yes, we have the computer controls, but there's still free will here. The engineers have given you free will to improve your driving skills. Granted, we've got all this stuff here that's still on, and if pushed, it will come in and basically save your ass. But it's really a testament to what Porsche has done with this vehicle to give you something. And look at this. We're going to go around, do a little bit of a drift, and go into this other obstacle course and still slide the car as if we had the system off. Granted, it just kicked in there, but look what I'm doing. I'm not driving the way I should, and the car is just so incredibly responsive. So in summary, what do we got? Well, we've got an incredibly fast baby buggy, one that's intoxicating to drive at that. But it does beg an important question. Ever since the dawn of the Cayenne, basically Porsche has sold every one of them they could ever build. As a matter of fact, in cases like this, where it's full tilt and full fat with the engine, they can't build enough. So that means there are a lot of people lining up to buy this price of an SUV. Now think about this. Bentley, Aston Martin have all talked about coming out with SUVs. As a matter of fact, Bentley is coming out with an SUV. And then there is some competition to these. The G63 and the Range Rover Sport, but really nothing close to this dynamically. So here's the question to you guys. Is there room for real competition and in price to the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S? Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And until next time, you guys need to get your ass to Querétaro. So here's the script. Click here to subscribe, click here to watch one of our 350 other episodes, and most importantly, share us with your friends. You're already wasting half your life on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. MotoManTV, all one word. I don't care who you share us with. Share us with your enemies. Just give the gift of MotoMan.